this video on exponential end behavior. By the end of this video, you should be able to identify the end behavior of an exponential graph. So we have previously talked about end behavior of lines, and the idea behind end behavior is you want to know what's happening to y values on the left-hand side of the graph and what's happening to y values on the right-hand side of the graph. So for the left side, it's going to be approaching where x's are negative infinity on the left. So your sentence will say as x decreases, it approaches negative infinity, because that means it's going left. So if your x's are going left, we want to know what's happening to the y values. And your choices are they are either increasing, meaning they're approaching positive infinity for the y values. They're decreasing, meaning they're approaching negative infinity for the y values, or they're getting really close to the asymptote. There's three choices, either positive infinity, negative infinity, or it's right next to the asymptote. On the right side, we want to know as the x values get bigger, meaning they're approaching where x's are positive infinity. So we're talking about the x's going to the right. So we want to know what's happening to these y values. It's the same three choices. They are either approaching positive infinity, negative infinity, or the asymptote. So let's just take a look. It will make a little bit more sense when we see it. So our asymptote is right here. Remember, you follow the flat out. This is our asymptote. Okay, this is the left side of the graph. This is the right side of the graph. Okay, on the left side of the graph, that's where the x's approach negative infinity. Okay, so our x's are negative infinity on the left side, and the x's are positive infinity on the right side. Okay, so as the x's approach negative infinity, talking about the left-hand side, what is your graph doing? The y values on your graph, do you see how it's right there on the asymptote? They're approaching the asymptote. So what is the value of the asymptote here? The value of the asymptote is 0. So the y values are approaching 0. They'll never cross over 0. They'll never touch 0. They're just getting really close to them. So this is the left side. On the right hand side, where the x's are going towards positive infinity for x's, what is the y values doing? As you go right, the y values are going up. So that means the y values are approaching positive infinity. Okay, so one side is always going to be by the asymptote, and the other side's going to be an infinity, always. It's just whether it's negative or positive, depending on how the graph is on the coordinate plane. Let's try it again. Okay, so let's see here. It looks like it's cut off a little bit, but this is our asymptote. Okay, so the x-axis is our asymptote, and the y value there is 0. So this is the left-hand side of our graph. This is the right-hand side of our graph. On the left-hand side of the graph is where the x's are at negative infinity. The right-hand side of the graph is where x's are at positive infinity. Now I'm talking about x values there, not y values. So as our x's approach negative infinity, so on this left-hand side of the graph, as our x's go left, our y values are going up forever. So they're approaching positive infinity. As our x's approach positive infinity, meaning the right-hand side of the graph, notice I'm on the asymptote here and I'm getting really close to my graph. My graph is right next to the asymptote, which is 0. So on the right-hand side, my graph will be approaching 0. So we just got to really look at left and right. What are the y values doing? One last one. Okay, so my asymptote is here at 4. Okay, so I know my number. This is the left-hand side of the graph. This is the right-hand side of the graph. The left-hand side of the graph is where your x values are negative infinity. The right-hand side of the graph is where your x values are at positive infinity. So as my x's approach negative infinity, so on the left-hand side, do you see how it's right at the asymptote? Your graph is going to approach that, but it's never going to cross it. So your graph is approaching 4. Now go to the right hand side. As my x's get bigger and they're going towards positive infinity, my y values are heading down. Well, y values down forever are at negative infinity. All right, well, hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in class.